Welcome back to the channel. I'm Sacred. This is the Sacred Art of Gaming, and we are going to continue our solo play with our wolfkin, Frostbite the Bloodhunger. And first I just want to talk about some things that I did in the last session that I think could have been better, but I'm going to try and make them short and sweet. But first, intro. Welcome back to my humble corner of the internet where we like playing tabletop games. I try to drop one video minimum a week, whether it's a solo play or going over some new materials, some concepts, GM advice, etc. So if that interests you, maybe join the squad, subscribe for some more videos, and if you're digging this video, don't forget to like. Alright, so let's get into things that could have gone better. So in the last episode, Frostbite, he left the town and he went into the forest and he was kind of like, yep, this is where I thrive, this is where I'm good. And he failed to set up camp appropriately. He lost his bone dice, which we don't know why those are so important, but apparently it is enough to keep him up all night. Didn't really get the rest that he needed, and then inevitably got attacked by wolves. And he took on 4 wolves by himself. He probably should know better, I think, and feel free to run your game however you want. In this instance, I think it's important that Frostbite is not incompetent. His failures are not because he sucks. His failures are because of the story. So in this case, we're gonna blame the dice. And I think that's good. I think that makes things more interesting. I've been dabbling with like the Sundered Isle stuff lately, and it kind of got me a little bit more into like the solo mindset, which is good. And then also this is almost like kind of OSR adjacent in terms of you really shouldn't try and fight everything. So if you recall, Frostbite, he just hunted not that long ago, so he's got 3 food, and he decided to just keep that for himself. That might even be the reason why he was attacked in this random encounter by wolves. I feel like an experienced hunter would maybe know, like, hey, maybe throw a little bit of rabbit in one direction, he goes in the other direction. That probably would have been better than what he did. Maybe climb a tree, escape, set up a trap, use the snare, something. Anything was better than just going right to friggin' twin shot. So we decided with a die roll, which I don't think was necessarily bad. He's on his deathbed, somebody comes to save him. It ends up being my Alone in Deepfall Breach character who's a little beefed up. Yeah, that's where we left off. So let's get right into it, because we've got some questions like, why is the dice so important, and why did Sten Travson save him? I mean, I guess Goat had his heroic moment at the end, but I don't know if Goat should have been more of like he probably should have been a target. I think that may have helped too, but also would have been a little sad if the Goat got ripped apart, but that also probably would have given Frostbite an opportunity to survive. Alright, so as Sten is kind of dragging him away, Frostbite, he's just kind of every now and then opening his eyes and trying to see like where the hell is he, until finally it just all goes black. And then eventually he opens his eyes and a significant amount of time has passed. Where is, haha, here we go. So this was on the 2, and I think we want to roll a d4 to get an idea of, so time has definitely passed. We should definitely suffer some consequences, even if it's not my death. So I'm going to roll a d4, and that's going to determine the threat timer and where it's at, to see how long it took Frostbite to rest. We're going to abstract that a little bit. And then if it hits 6, then that means that this creature is going to attack again. All right, so he is actually pretty lucky it's only going up to 3. So he wakes up and he's now at like a camp. You know what? Is Sten alone? I'm curious. I don't know. Let's see. 4. Yes, Sten is alone. Okay, other than his dog. Anvil. Alright, so it's just Sten and Frostbite. And Frostbite kind of slowly opens his eyes and is kind of looking around, wondering, you know, what's going on. And Sten is over by the fire, probably eating some type of meat on a stick. And Frostbite looks over to him and he's like, "Why? Why did you bother to risk your neck for me, stranger?" And Sten kind of picking some small bones out of his teeth. And he looks, actually no, he doesn't even look at him. He continues to eat. He's got his one metal arm, his glorious hairstyle. "Because I need your help." And Frostbite is like, "Well, need my help with what?" And Sten's like, "Well, you're a hunter, aren't you?" And Frostbite almost sarcastically is like, "Despite what you just saw, yes. Wasn't my best moment." And Sten probably chuckles to himself. Maybe just one of those like half-assed laughs that he does to himself as he's getting these small bones out of his teeth and his meal he's eating. Sten's just kind of like, "Are you hungry?" And not to play out every single sentence, but yeah, they kind of share some meal or some food. He sits up and they talk. And as they talk, it is revealed Sten was actually sent or recommended to find Frostbite by someone called Thawbreaker, a wolfkin. Frostbite is kind of taken back by that. As soon as he says Thawbreaker, Sten can see that Frostbite visibly reacts to that name. And then Sten realizes that, and he's kind of like, "So you know Thawbreaker?" Frostbite instinctively reaches for his dice that he then remembers he doesn't have. And Frostbite says, Yeah, I know him. He's my father." Sten is like, "Oh, well, he didn't mention that." And Frostbite's kind of, But long story short of this back and forth is that Sten is actually the one. How do we want to play this? Yeah, Sten sent the dwarf. We'll say Sten sent the dwarf to grab Frostbite because of the creature attack. I think that's reasonable. I think it's also reasonable that Sten is going to unveil what this creature is in this moment. And I have kind of decided, based on some thinking that I've been doing, that just made sense based on like unraveling why the dice are important. And the reason why the dice are important, which I think Frostbite he would reveal to Sten in this moment, because it's kind of like his excuse for what just happened. But that dice is actually made of manticore bone. And it was a gift to Frostbite because there was a famous manticore, well, famous for that region anyways. And this just continued to expand the more I thought about it, and we'll see what actually takes place, because I think we're gonna potentially throw out the griffin thing, which is fine. Things can be kind of etched into sand at low tide and we change it as needed for what makes sense for the story. So, Frostbite comes from a wolfkin clan known as the Icefang clan. Yes, and they are, as you imagine, from a cold, mountainous region. And his father, Thawbreaker, is somewhat of a hero because that manticore was terrorizing that clan for quite some time. And through the leadership of Thawbreaker, they were able to slay this manticore. That leads me to believe, and I mean, I'm willing to throw this out if this doesn't end up being the case, that our creature may actually be the offspring of that manticore. That is now, after all these years, Frostbite and this manticore probably grew up around the same time, and now both of them are adults, and now this other manticore is wreaking havoc on the land, and maybe even seeks vengeance against that clan. I don't know. We shall see. So they continue to talk and share information back and forth. Sten specifically mentions a name, a human who seems to be in power in some type of way. This person's name is Gorik Horncoat, and he seems to believe that Gorik actually wants the Mad Mage, Luthar Crookback, wants him free. So there's additional threads onto that thread that's kind of complicating things. There's this person in power, the mage, this manticore, and then also the potential for the dwarf, which Frostbite shares that information with Sten, and Sten's kind of like, the dwarf, trout, whatever, however you would say that, T-R-A-U-T. You're saying that he's in on it, and he actually had guards with him to apprehend you after you spoke to the Mad Mage? Frostbite's like, yes, I recognized his scent even if I didn't see him. So Sten's kind of taken back by this. Does he believe, well, we'll say Frostbite kind of, does what he can, and we'll say because he suffered the penalty, which wasn't too bad, Frostbite is rested, he's good to go. We can get rid of, where's the pencil? Get rid of this exhausted. I believe I got rid of everything else here. So we'll say this is him attempting to persuade. Yeah, of course, under P. Doesn't look good. Oh boy. 17. Yeah. So Sten is he's still kind of iffy on the whole dwarf thing. Not that him and the dwarf are necessarily good pals, but he's like, maybe this Frostbite character is a little unsure. And then he tells him about the dice, of course, but then he also reveals that he believes that Frostbite reveals this to Sten, that he believes that the dice have some type of power, and they actually help him decide the weaknesses of creatures that he's hunting. So when he goes on a hunt, he actually rolls these 2d6 bone dice, and he almost gets information from that he believes is almost like his father, his heroic father, who is still around, kind of giving him hints towards like how he should be slaying these creatures. And of course, as they go back and forth, Goat just kind of, he breaks the seriousness of the conversation with just like a bah in the background. So Sten, this is another day has passed, and Sten is just kind of like, okay, are you good to travel? Frostbite just kind of dusts himself off, and he's like, yes, yeah, I am, I'll be fine. And we are roughly, so we're probably in this little hilly area over here, give or take. And Frostbite's just kind of like, so what exactly do you need my help with here? Sten is like, well, this beast, this manticore, and I'm sure Frostbite kind of gets shivers down his spine just thinking, because he's never slain a manticore on his own. I have reason to believe, based on what your father said, that you would be able to assist me. And Thawbreaker was, I'll be honest, he was my first choice based on what Engulfer Stonegaze told me, but he was unwilling to leave the clan. He said it was important for him to be there to defend, because he has reason to believe that this creature may come for the clan. And of course, Frostbite, he's just kind of thinking like, oh no, like, my father's older now, would he still be able to do it? Would he still be able to defend the clan from something like this? Where the hell are my dice? And Frostbite's like, okay, well, first and foremost, I need to find my dice. And Sten is like, well, I doubt you lost them. Frostbite kind of raises an eyebrow. Sten's like, there are some creatures in this area that are known for a love of collecting items, and they can be quite sneaky. If you don't think you misplaced them, that's my That's my guess. I think I'm gonna pull up the bestiary. What creatures, or can or whatever, what do I think? So I mean, there's the potential for a harpy. That might be a little on the nose, given Frostbite is kind of like, are you sure that it's a manticore and not harpies? And Sten's looking at him crazy and he's like, you're the hunter, right? Like, it's definitely not harpies. So harpy comes to mind. Goblin, I suppose, comes to mind. I'll hold on to that. I do kind of like the idea of that, sort of, but they're not necessarily sneaky. Oh yeah? They do steal anything they get their hands on. I did see some art here, these lizard people that I kind of don't feel like, although I like that picture, I don't feel like they would be in this region. Sten's like, well, I know you were confused earlier on the idea of the harpies. Although there's not a whole flock in this area, there's a couple stragglers in the region, and they tend to steal stuff, and especially like a hunter such as yourself, would not surprise me if one was able to take your stuff, especially if you've been around blaming them for the attack on the town, if that's not what they did. They're always listening. I've got some experience with some harpies, and they are far from pleasant. And Frostbite kind of cracks his knuckles, and he's like, we gotta find these harpies. We have an ability that may be helpful. Hunting instincts. You can use this ability to designate a creature in sight or creature you can catch a scent of as your prey. This counts as an action in combat. You can follow the scent of your prey for a full day, and you can spin. All right, cool. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Does Sten have some type of evidence that it's a harpy? Let's see. 5. 5 is a yes. All right. So Frostbite just kind of mentions to him, well, we gotta return. We gotta return to camp. When we return to camp, I'm gonna grab the scent. Unless you know where these harpies are. And Stan's like, I don't know where the harpies are, but if a scent is what you need. And he pulls out a feather, and Frostbite snorts that feather. Okay, I still have the 3 willpower from here. Sniffing the feather. Just kind of looks off in a few different directions and kind of moves around the camp. As soon as you're ready, I've got dice to get. Are you coming along? Would Sten come? I kind of feel like I don't want Sten to come, because Sten's kind of strong. Kind of want to keep their stories somewhat separate, although it was cool that we got an idea of like what this wandering adventure situation is. But we'll give him another persuasion attempt to see if he'll come. So Frostbite's trying to get him to come. 11, no. All right. So Sten is just kind of like, I wish I could, I do, but this manticore is not going to stop, and I have more towns I have to warn before it's too late. I'm thinking we have a 2-pronged attack here. You take care of this manticore, I'll take care of the noble. And Frostbite is like, and what about the mage? And what about the mage? And the goat is kind of like, bah! They both look at the goat, and Sten's like, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Frostbite is going now in the direction of the harpies, which is... That's a 9. Of course it's kind of in the other direction. So he is going west. We'll say he kind of moved down a little bit. He's going west to where these harpies are. And then so he can track this for like a day. And we're going to make a bushcraft roll to see how much time this is going to take. Because, why do I move this? It could affect this threat timer. So let's see. 5. That is a success. So that kind of makes sense. Frostbite, he's really trying to beeline it towards this harpy. And yeah, he's getting there quite quickly indeed. So yeah, we'll say just with travel and stuff. He gets there, it was morning, so it's probably like a few shifts had passed, and he now has eyes on this harpy. He's an expert hunter. Well, let's see if he's an expert hunter. We're gonna do a sneaking roll just to see, like, was he able to approach, like, downwind and all this stuff, so this way the harpy has no idea that he's there. 10. That is a success as well. So, yeah, he's got an excellent advantage. The harpy, he approaches, he's got cover, he's got like a tree line there, and he can see that up on, like, there's like a pillar for some ruins. This kind of, I guess, inspired it, but we'll say it's like not quite over there. There's some type of ruin that's collapsed, and there's like a pillar on top where you can see this harpy kind of has like a little nest, and it's just kind of flying around, and you can see that it's doing almost like the evil Little Mermaid, where it's got its doodads and it's all of its little toys and junk that it's finding, and it is specifically excited about these dice as it continues to fly around with its sinister song. And I think we're gonna stop it there. On the next episode, we got some good, we did get some good like backstory, which was pretty cool. On the next episode, Frostbite attacks, gets vengeance. And then from there, we need to figure out what the hell we're gonna do with this manticore, because that's worse than a griffin. Hope you enjoyed this solo play sesh. Is that silly? Why did I shorten that? This solo play session. I'm Sacred. This has been The Sacred Art of Gaming. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're digging what we got going on here. More Dragonbane solo play, as well as more solo plays in the future, especially 2025. There's gonna be a whole lot more solo plays being recorded, that's for sure. All right, story first, play always. I've been Sacred. Till next time, Sacred out. I don't know why I shoot guns when I leave now. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I gotta... Sacred is out!